Everyone's doing good this evening. Today's April the 4th. It's about 10:45, 10:44 p.m. As you can see, excuse me. As you can see, there's the well, there's the little clock there. I'm basically I'm recording because like I said, everything's been going on. I got like I said, the voices are in my mind, in my head. Like I've said this whole time, there's a lot more to that than many will. Oh shoot! Excuse me. I almost dropped the phone. Excuse me. Than many will attest to that. Excuse me. Many will allow for many reasons. Mostly because it's not very it's not very understood. The powers that be won't allow, and also we've been conditioned to not allow either. It's very foreign to us. So what's foreign to us, we especially what kind of frightens us. It probably frightens most people for a few reasons. Mainly because they kind of just automatically to them it equals somebody that's crazy or somebody that is dangerous. The medical community, kind of lends to that a little bit. That kind of inference or miscommunication. It may not be misunderstood or miscommunicated, but I don't think that's really the case. For the most part. But I think it's just something that's not. It's kind of frustrating, to most people that go through it. Mental health is very real. Mental illness, mental health as well. It's something that, unfortunately, even now, but up to this point, it's been very. There's been a lot of stigma that goes along with it. A lot of things that are attributed to it that that's where the misunderstanding comes in, I think. And like I said, most of it is for frustration. People, their inability to get through to anyone regarding it. Everywhere you turn, it's they have you kind of blocked off. And if you notice, it kind of starts to spell itself out. What the underlying factors are, or some of the underlying things are that they try to stop or block. Because if you think about it medically, what happens if you're hearing the voices. You automatically really can't be trusted. You're kind of written off before anything even starts. So it's just it's one of those things that look on a medical questionnaire next time you're at a hospital or something. It's these questions that kind of lend themselves to the advantageous. Being able to take somebody out, without much question. Some of the questions are: do you smoke? Do you drink? Do you do street drugs? Do you have thoughts of killing yourself, harming others or yourself? Things like that. And then they're very superficial. They're very superficial questions, very pointed. if you answer yes to any one of them, you just know. I mean, the obvious is that you're kind of you're letting into. You automatically know if you answer yes to any of those, like how that visit's gonna go. You know, say you go to the doctor, go to the hospital, or something like that. You're gonna be shuffled out of there real quick. Um, like I said, if you tell anybody that you smoke, drink, do drugs, if you hear voices in your head, if you have suicidal thoughts or thoughts of harming others, it's like a very quick selection process, and it's like a pre-screening almost. If you answer yes to any one of those, it's like you automatically go to you get seen in a different light, and especially if it's especially drugs or like I said, drugs or any sort of mental condition. It's just left and right, left and right, left and right, and if you do drugs, have the voices, anything like that, it's just it's over. I mean, pretty much. But that's not the case, because like I said, we're very much aware. It's just the things that we speak on are crazy. I mean, it's evidently, and I understand. I understand people's reservations as well. But in these times, it most definitely, and going forward, needs to be understood. That's not. I'm not dropping that in any sort of threatening manner. I just it would be beneficial to many if people try to understand this, because it's part of a big part of what's happening, because more and more people are going to be affected, and this is a way of silencing people, and this is it has been for a long time now, for a very long time now, and it's going to continue, and it's going to get worse, and as you go forward, they're going to equate it to, especially with the pandemic going on, they're going to say that it's people panicking, it's people, it's euphoric, or it's a frenzy. It's they're going to say that people are kind of, I hate to say this, but losing their mind, or having mental snaps, or mental breaks, snaps in their psyche, things like that. But that's not the case, and it may be as well. But it doesn't mean that it's not happening. Like I said, the voices are manifest from somewhere, something, and what they are, they're very real. That's all I can say. They're unnatural to the human body, to the mind. They're very pointed. They're introduced. They are other people, literally. Manipulating a person's internal mechanisms, their processes, and their faculties. It's basically somebody. Well, I can't say. Well, I can't speak for the individuals, but I'm sure they're very aware of the whoever's voicing these. A lot of these, many of them, maybe. Very aware of how the human body works, the nervous system especially, how responsive we are to panic, suggestion, emotion, anything. That's all it is, really. They've dialed in our response systems. They understand it very well. Namely, the nervous system, the sympathetic, parasympathetic, things like that. Our bodies are almost, if you picture it, we're on a balance, almost right down the center, 50-50. That's basically what ideal is. If you had to look at it on a like a chart, or some sort of some sort of visual scale, you would think of it almost like a scale. You have if there's 10 pounds, say, on the scale, you level out here 10 pounds. So you want to, 5 pounds, and 5 pounds is perfectly equal. That'll balance the scale out, perfect. So what ends up happening is, in order to break somebody's psyche, or to control them emotionally, or something like that. We are responsive beings. So what they do is any given time, if they need to affect you, say they need to distract you. They take something and place it on one side very fast, and bam, you react because you were just tipped out of balance. So now you're completely one side, and in order to get back, that balance, you have to work through the imbalance that was just caused, and so that's what they do all day long. If boom, unbalance you this way, and then when you start getting back on track, if they need to do something else, boom, put on the other side, bam, now you're going this way, bam, bam, back and forth, and it's just switching, back and forth, and you're basically trying to calibrate yourself, entirely internally all day, and you can imagine what this does to your mind, to your brain, to your body. After a while, you're so concentrated on this balance that it starts affecting all your other processes, all your other your organs. They start getting taxed because you're exhausted. Couple this with insomnia, mental fatigue, things like that. Then after a while, once insomnia kicks in, if you're not getting sleep, if you're exhausted and you're not getting sleep, and then it just keeps running down, down, down. If you can't get rest, like I said, you're just, you're in a crisis point, and then now introduce this pandemic, say a virus or something, and that virus takes over, and you're already taxed, and then it's just boom, it's quick. Like I said, not to mention, they can literally almost put your lights out. Almost like a switch nowadays. With this energy that I've been speaking on, it's a radio frequency. All the energy of the electromagnetic spectrum, which can be propagated or directed now, directly at somebody or groups of people or a general area. How do they do this? A cell phone, a satellite on top of the house, a cable in a house, a Wi-Fi subscription inside a house. Anything with a like an IP number or something that is very unique and specific, which is a lot of things these days. Somebody's vehicle might have maybe Wi-Fi enabled, Bluetooth, those pairing systems. Every Bluetooth has can be dialed in right down to a specific device. If you're next to that device, all the energy around you, which is circling around you 24/7, be it Wi-Fi, cellular, it doesn't even have to be yours. All it has to do is be circling around you. It can be somebody else's. Say somebody's at your house. They can go after you one of two ways: through that individual's, say, cell phone or something on them, or a parable device in your house, a printer, a Wi-Fi enabled printer, a tablet, like I said, the possibilities are just endless, unimaginable. And like I said, they can literally dial you in almost anywhere. And if like I said, and now it's gotten to the point where it's advanced to the point where, like I said, they can literally. This is the part that people are gonna start like disconnecting from, because it sounds crazy and it sounds unreal. But they can literally basically see through your eyes now. I mean, literally. And what they do is we're in just a cross current atmosphere of this energy, and like I said, with the energy, say, from a cell phone or something like that, they can we transmit or we broadcast our thoughts. They're that's what our sixth sense and all these things, that almost like a telepathic connection. But we do work off of energy and frequency. And that's what our rhythm, our internal rhythm is. Our thoughts, our emotions, our feelings, our pain, things like this, are they're synapses that are firing off actual energy that are communicating within our body. It's like a relay. We have these neurons and these receptors and all these things, and we send out this energy, and it tells our body, say we touch something hot with our fingertips. Immediately, our fingertips tell our brain, wow, that's hot. All the nerve endings and everything in our fingertips, they fire off this synapses and this current that races to our brain and tells us to pull our hand off. That's part of our system. That we immediately register. It fires to our brain, and then we react. It's a jerking kind of, like I said, and you can see the process there. It's an actual physical process. Our brain tells us to do something. When this something's realized, it fires off to the brain, and our brain, without thinking, just tells us to react. Boom, get it away from there. So we actually jerk, very quickly and violently. Sometimes it won't even hurt, but you'll you put your hand on something hot, and it won't even really hurt. It's just it scares you. So you'll find yourself like, whoa, way overreacting to where it almost frightens you, and then you're like, wow, you almost hurt yourself. You pulled your arm back so hard that you kind of popped your shoulder out of place or something. And it's a violent reaction. And like I said, anyone if anyone were to get into accessibility to something like that, it can be you can imagine, and that's where we're going into now. They have very they've gotten to where they can access things just like that. And what they do is they suggest, and they use a lot of suggestion, a lot of overriding, reconditioning, and what they're doing now is basically it's a killing mechanism, it's a killing machine, and what they're doing is they're surveilling people's minds. They have our our thoughts, our memories, anything, and the way they do that is they ask you questions. It's like being interrogated, 24/7. They start asking you questions, leading questions, and they're baited and leading, and you respond, and most of the times you're responding unknowingly, and so you're basically being interrogated, and like I said, they just if you come up on their radar, like I said, for whatever reason, they interrogate everything about you, and they use anything, especially of your conscience, because your conscience is a major factor of how you react and your emotional processing system. If you feel consciously about something, you're very passionate about it, one way or the other, it'll cause you to react or to do things. And that is one of their main holdings there is access to this your consciousness, and they'll say, you'll hear words like global consciousness or collective consciousness. This is dangerous because you can imagine our personal consciousness is very important to each one of us, because that's how we basically govern ourselves. Or I don't mean govern, because we are governed by the laws which protect ourselves and others and things like that. But I mean, we're the first line of that personally. I mean, we have to check ourselves and control ourselves, things like that, in order to function properly and correctly, and be functioning adults. I mean, human or beings, living beings, and mindful of those around us, everything like that. If we're not mindful of those around us, or we're just we're continually not mindful, not aware, then we just start becoming just complacent. We start not really caring about those around us, and even ourselves. And I think that's one of the things that they're going for. They want us to at this point to kind of just give up and surrender and not really care. And that's I think one of the especially at this time, they want us to kind of quietly and silently allow ourselves to give in and surrender and this is unfortunate. This is sad because like I said, it's not the way it's supposed to be. And like I said, and they're taking off on anybody that becomes aware of this for a reason. And I become very aware and very mindful of many facts and things like that. And like I said, and they're trying to silence us. They threaten myself and my family, and especially, namely, my children. One, like I said, my daughter, she's a female. Excuse me. And my son, who is, like I said, very young. He's in the single digits, and they're, like I said, they take great joy in this, and they tell me that they're going to torture him to death. Even my daughter and my whole family, and they do this to frighten, to cause panic and fear and intimidation. But they actually do it, like I said, in their own way. They affect people in many ways. Some of the things that like I've seen are people, some of the direct things that I've seen are people losing their hair. That means that that's because of the energy that they inundate you with, on and around you. The stress, things like that. But also the direct energy, the directed energy that they place on you. People lose their hair. I've seen people that I know. Like I said, I'm talking kind of generally because I don't want to cause situations for individuals. If they can hear me, or I just it's natural to kind of to shy away from to try and protect others. But I've had people that I know and care for very dearly who have had to have eye surgery. There's major things with their eyes. They have issues with their eyes that have to get corrected, that aren't very natural. That's because of, once again, the energy that they're having placed through them or on that's being introduced to them. Like I said, my child, like I said, recently had to have surgeries because of ENT, ear, nose, and throat problems, issues. We're having major issues with fluid, kind of like vasoconstriction type, I believe, issues of these sinuses in the face. From what I understand, you have sinuses, in the sides of your heads here, all on about your face, in your nasal cavity, behind your eyes, your teeth, your ears, they're all just connected, connected in your face. Like I said, my child had some pretty major surgeries, 3 different ones, very recently. This was like 2-3 weeks ago. And it's kind of odd because at the very same time, I was having the exact same issues, which can be proven in my, like I said, in my medical records. I've gone to the hospital quite a few times. I've been put on steroids, prednisone, things like that, to stop some of the inflammation and swelling and the fluid retention that's going on, because I'm having the exact same issues, which is not very natural, I'm sure. Like I said, so this is very telling of the literal atmosphere that's going on around, a general area. And like I said, I'm having the same issues. I got some, fluid retention in my ears, and I take these prednisone to stop some of the swelling and things like that. And basically, what I'm hearing in my head is what they're telling me literally in my head is 24/7 is you're gonna have a heart attack. we're dialing you in for a heart attack. They say that all they need is for me to show any sign of this COVID-19 or the coronavirus, and that they'll kill me off. That's all they need, and it's kind of telling of what's going on as well. People the minute they show us signs, they go downhill very quick, and that tells me that it's almost a selected process, or it can be, because it's not really a lot of this is not really coming together, showing itself very naturally. What I'm seeing is a lot of very unnatural kind of very rapid deteriorations or deaths. People just they get a confirmation and boom, next thing you know they're done. And this is done, like I said, if you do some of the factors I've been writing on, it's like they're using elemental changes or electrochemistry within the body. That's what this speaks to for myself. And then you gotta start asking: Is there evidence of this electrochemistry other than just stating it and seeing some results that possibly link to it? You have to have things introduced, or you have to have certain elements to have electrochemistry present, or to be able to be functional, or to be able to work. So do we have those? Yes, we do. Go look at the water that you at the store. Almost every single one has elevated levels of pH now. It'll say on there higher pH level, and we kind of accept that as something good for us, But is it? We have a sustainable pH level that we have to be within in order to survive. That's our sustainable pH level. If you look into that, it's a very narrow window. So if we're drinking elevated, if we're drinking water with elevated levels of pH, are we possibly putting ourselves at risk? Why all of a sudden are the levels going up on pH? And then it'll say on there as well, with enhanced electrolytes, added electrolytes, added alkaloids. It'll say on there plus alkaloids and electrolytes, and then it'll say higher pH. Those are the exact catalysts that are needed for electrochemistry. Alkaloids and electrolytes are always present in electrochemistry or physics, things like that, chemistry, basically, because I don't know if physics is correct, but definitely chemistry, biochemistry, things like that, because the electrolytes, definitely help with the energy, transfer energy, things like that, the transfer of energy to flow, to make something energized. So you have the electrolytes for that. Alkaloids are most definitely with the structure and the changing of structure, restructuring, things like that. So you have the electrolytes and the chemical restructuring, the pH once again. Most definitely plays a huge factor. So like these people that are getting this coronavirus, I think we need to bring awareness very quickly, because people are dying. I think some of the major elements on helping some of these people with the coronavirus, or that they're everybody really, is to understand this energy and this frequency and the elemental makeups that we are under at this time. And one of the major factors, some of the major factors that I think that will help are compression. Compression helps with these factors as well, especially in the electrochemistry, and most definitely something that compression helps with is resonance, resonance and structure. Because what resonance is, resonance, you can see it as like as boiling water. Fire being in boiling water, fire is the energy, the flame. So you got this fire, and then you put a pot of water on top of the fire. So now this water is being introduced to this energy, say you add a little bit of salt to that water. Now you have a chemical restructuring inside the water. You know, you kind of restructured the basic water setup, and you added the sodium. You know, you got the salt in there. So what happens is now this water is going to start boiling very rapidly, and the agitation and the actual boil is the effect, and it's how you can literally see this resonance in action, and that's you know, it's agitating all the molecular structure within the water, and that's a violent reaction that's going on. So the salt is one of the catalysts. Like I said, the salt is one of the catalysts, and the you know, the actual viewing of this energy and its aggressive nature, and it's what's happening is the rolling boil. So like I said, if now you can imagine, you know, within ourselves, you know, if they want to affect us, or you know, in almost the same way, this is what's happening. You know, they introduce this resonance which we can't see, you know, because it's all around us, just like the energy that's around us right now. I can transmit data, you know, large amounts of data over the basically seemingly the air, but it's not. It's there's an energy in the air. It's wireless energy, and that's dangerous. And this wireless energy has been proven to, like I said, in other ways as well. It's they use it in all types of different ways now. You know, some police have it for crowd control, things like that. You know, if they need to disperse a crowd, they just you know, put a blast of this energy on people. Well, they're like shocked by it. It's like a shock wave. It makes them nauseated. Sometimes, you know, it can make your skin burn. It can do all types of stuff. But it basically, it's gonna, you know, you're gonna move. You know what I mean? And you know, and then once again, you look for the factors. Is this possible? Is this within our us being affected? Yes, you know, the Gwen towers that are up in every community. You know, the towers that you see with the big, you know, they tried to, at first they weren't actually hiding them. They're just making them a little less noticeable. But they, you know, made them look like palm trees, like buildings. Now, you know, they're just out in the open. They're these big towers. You know, they got the big flat panels, and then they got the big round microwave, like, you know, you know, transmitters and, you know, satellites, you know, kind of things on them. You know, the big round discs on them, and then you got the big flat ones. You know, and those are capable of every, those are capable of transmitting and receiving and processing, you know, all this you know, information, and also, you know, disseminating this these frequencies and this energy. So like I said, when we are introduced with a certain frequency or energy, it's been proven that, you know, different parts of our brain react differently to different tones, pulses, all this stuff. It could be retinal blasts, you know, repetitive. You know, if you close your eyes, you can see the light kind of, you know, jumping, still flashing inside your eye. That speaks of projection, you know, either through your eyes or all around you. It's being projected, and your body is literally processing that almost like a Morse code. You know, if your brain is conditioned that way, which they condition all of us, I'm sure, you know, it can literally speak. You know, it can literally speak to us. You know, it's telling us certain things. You know, I mean, it's suggesting certain things. I mean, we're inundated in every way imaginable, and like I said, for some of us, you know, we're selected because, you know, for any number of reasons, and they try to silence us, you know, for bringing awareness, or for becoming aware of this, and like I said, and then they, you know, they're in our heads, and they want it to seem natural because they're in our heads telling us, you know, you're dead, you're gonna die, and you know, and they'll tell you straight up, you know, it's gonna be natural. Nobody's ever gonna figure it out, because nobody will ever identify where the voices are coming from, where the transmission source is, you know, all this stuff. But like I said, all you have to know is basically, you know, you got satellites, you got this stuff is hidden. I mean, basically flew under the radar in any way, shape, or form. We have natural resonance. You know, I've noticed too, whenever you turn something on, like say something that has a motor, a fan, you know, if it's a, you know, fan turning will amplify this. A refrigerator running, a TV, anything, like I said, anything with a motor, anything that has a constant, like a hum and a buzz, can amplify and affect a lot of this. So when I'm being affected very heavily, what I do is I go around and I unplug everything from all the walls. Like I said, but you have to be very careful and very aware, because sometimes, when you're very inundated and very affected, just touching like an extension cord or a cord that goes into the wall, you'll feel a difference. And you'll feel it within your body. And what they're doing is making us very super conductive, and makes us reactive to everything. And we're heavily affected by all the energy around us, and we're also heavily affected by the things we put in our body. We have to be very aware of what we put in our body, because caffeine, everything is almost like a literal, can be taken literally. If it affects you like in a downer way, that's probably what it's going to do. If it's like caffeine, if it's something like that, it's probably going to have that effect on you. But amplified, it's basically an amplifier all the way across the board. And so, like I said, they can single us out. They can go after us, in ways like that. But ways to protect yourself, or it's a static energy as well. It accumulates and holds and just surrounds and lingers in cotton. Anything that holds, anything that's porous and fibrous, with the fibers that are porous and stuff like that, and that it attracts natural static. You want to be aware of cotton. For instance, cotton, it just clings to cotton, just surrounds, and then what happens is, if there's a pulse, all this static around you, when there's a pulse, it just boom, and it'll just like a little electromagnetic pulse all around you, and you'll feel this in your chest, in your stomach, in your heart, and in your eyes, and it'll boggle your mind for a minute, and you'll just kind of whoa, and it takes a minute to reset. Like I said, you have to layer. Layer with tight compression fitting stuff. You got to be careful with compression though as well. It can affect you in many ways, but if you're aware of it, if anything, just snug fitting, polyester, snug fitting. Don't have a lot of breathable. Don't let air circulate under your clothes. You want to layer, like I said, long sleeves or something. The less visible surface area, the better. Layer, cover up all your your skin, your hair, your face, because static accumulates like in hair as well, in hair, all around your face, all around your body, all these things affect it. But we need to protect ourselves and each other, especially going forward, and we need to bring awareness until like I said, everybody's aware of what's going on and how this affects everybody. But this is happening, like I said, and this energy is real, and it's coming from all types of different sources, areas, things like that. And the most you can do, the best thing you can do to protect yourself and others is to limit the amount that you're putting out there. I would say turn off as much as you can until we figure out, what it is, where it's actually coming from, and how it affects people. Like I said, if you're indoors, that's what they want right now. That's why we're doing the lockdown in place, because if you're indoors, another thing that's real is ferromagnetic gas that you breathe, that's in the air all around you. You want to move the air constantly in any enclosed area where you're at. Keep a fan on, on low, or keep the fan on, a ceiling fan, a fan on the ground, but turn like non-pertinent stuff off. Like I said, because when you're just sitting down, if the air gets stagnant, ferromagnetic gas is real, and when you start breathing this stuff, it'll start saturating, replacing oxygen levels with this ferromagnetic gas. Not good. Then you can run it into a medical crisis that way. So keep a fan running, keep the air circulated, keep the doors open, windows open, get fresh air. Constantly have air moving. Replace bad, old air, old stagnant air with fresh air. Like I said, you want constant oxygen, oxygenated air, oxygenated air. If you can, get out, but don't go around people. Go somewhere where there's no people. Go by yourself. For those who you've quarantined with, Um, Definitely make sure you keep in dialogue, be it over the phone, stay mindful, because what they want is they're going to start working on your brain, and the least dialogue you have, interaction as far as dialogue, pick up the phone, or kind of do what I'm doing, maybe record videos, tell your story, but keep your brain active. Don't let them overtake your dialogue, your internal dialogue, especially. Vocalize. That's another thing, because you can run into a stroke if they corner you, and you're too mindful of yourself, and say you start talking to yourself, things like that. That can be dangerous, because you're basically running into, excuse me, you're relying on internal dialogue, and then when they start suggesting to you, then you start listening to that almost like it's your own. So you have to have that break, social break, that, so your body knows that it's there's a difference, because once you get funneled into not being able to tell that difference, then you're going to start running into medical problems as well. Like I said, but being indoors as well, that's another way that they inundate us, because they introduce us, to this energy all around us, constantly. And then our bodies begin to switch. We begin to get used to this energized atmosphere. And then when we step outside, it's different. So you want a constant, you want to constantly change it, keep the gears shifting. Like I said, don't stay in too long. Go outside, get some fresh air, get some natural energy, or displace some unnatural energy, by walking, things like that. Switching your kind of your elemental, or your atmosphere, and your energy and all that stuff. Sitting on a couch that has a metallic base underneath, say a couch that has a pull-out bed. That pull-out bed underneath is metallic, and it's gonna make you more susceptible to this energy. If you sleep on a bed that doesn't have with no springs, if it's one of those Tempur-Pedics, you're going to be a lot less susceptible to a certain energy than if you sleep on a bed with springs, things like that. The springs are metallic, and you will find some of this energy, in that. And like I said, and that can be very dangerous. So like I said, if something happens to me, they're after me for a reason. And like I said, that's because they know who me to be something else. Like I said, I have a divine a link, and a divine blessing. I'm a divine being that will be proven undeniably. Like I said, there's many, within government, our government, United States government, that knows who I am, along with the private sector, things like that. And it's a constant struggle, back and forth. But if anything happens to me, like I said, I hope that people do seek out the harmful elements, that are harming people, especially children. Like I said, I would always strive for peace. I always do. Like I said, so hopefully we can do this in peace. I'm hopeful to be around, to do as much as I can. But you never know. Like I said, I'm always my hope and my faith is in my beliefs in my God, and things like that, and Christ. But like I said, they it will be proven that I am, of course, a messenger, and hopefully, we go by the old adage, don't shoot the messenger, things like that, because the message that I'm bringing is not anything of violence or malice. I hope, it's peaceful, it's always peaceful. I don't, like any sort of violence or harm to others. It hurts my heart, to see anybody sick or struggling, or in a bad way. I don't wish that on anybody. And it's I'll take a step back because I'm not here to, it's not about, it's not a poor me thing at all. Like I said, there's going to be things that are probably said about me. And like I said, right now I don't have it within me to, I've been defending myself for years and years now. With this, I've been going through this for years. And, like I said, I'm trying to bring awareness now because of, I'm being, internally, I'm being forced basically because, in many ways they're forcing, the issue because they're telling me if I don't, reveal, who I am publicly, this and that, they're going to harm my family. They're going to torture my family. They're going to kill my children. They're going to kill my family. And like I said, I've seen my family go through some, recently, through some struggles, that are, to me are seemingly unnatural. Like I said, surgeries, health issues, just, very embattled. Like I said, it's very taxing on all aspects of your psyche and your being. But like I said, I'm hopeful. And like I said, one of the links to my divine, I call it providence because it's kind of a lending or how to, I have a very long list of providence that, that some will say is circumstantial, unto themselves. Some will say that, some are a little more undeniable than others. Some will say that, some are kind of petty but when you have so much, it just all kind of lends to the same, that is speaking all in the same direction. It starts to get undeniable. But one of the things that have come to that I've come to understand, or that is a providence, is can be fact checked, is my initials, SPE. My initials to my first, middle, and last name are SPE. If you look at that, translate them into Latin, I believe, that literally means hope. My initials are literally hope. So, like I said, one of the message of Christ and within, hopefully good-natured individuals is always, hope. There's always hope. And I don't mean to attribute that to myself. Like I said, it's not about, the hope being in me, personally, but in the message, like I said, and I hope I'm putting that message out in a manner befitting, becoming of the message, like I said, I'm not, I'm always hopeful for myself, of course. I hope, to survive just like everyone else, and I'm trying just like everyone else. And like I said, if you can, may or will, please pray for me, like I said, and everyone else as well. Please take care of yourselves. Pray for others. Help others if you can. Protect yourselves always. I'll be doing the same. And like I said, but they are trying to, both literally and, in many ways, they're trying to unfortunately take hope, take our hope away. I don't mean that, like, again, I attribute that to myself because, like, I have hope as well. And, the message being that, I put it out there, as far as my initials being hope, because, like I said, it's just, to me, it's important, that people know that, hopefully, regardless of what is ever said about me or whatever they attribute to me, people will be able to separate, the fact that, we're all kind of going through this, and I hope that, we're all hopeful in our own ways, and like I said, and I mean that on with the utmost respect, to everyone and to everything. Like I said, I don't, in any way, shape, or form, I hope that they don't, nobody thinks that I'm trying to assert myself over anyone, or anything, or that I'm trying to use anything in any way, shape, or form, unbecoming of my understanding. It's just simply trying to bring the message across, and I've spent the last, I don't know, years, going through this journey, and I've been writing constantly writing. I've dedicated myself to this entirely. My writings and my journals and my notes and everything will tell exactly, the story. And like I said, it's 24/7. But I'm hopeful, like I said, I'm hopeful that we can get to a place where we're not harming each other, like I said, and I hope that nobody is harmed maliciously. And like I said, I hope that we come to an understanding that hopefully, everyone can come to an understanding in some way, shape, or form. And I hope that the outcome of that is peace. Like I said, and like I said, I'll go forward in a peaceful manner. And like I said, but I hope those that harm others, I hope that we can identify where this harmful element or elements are coming from, these transmissions, and how it's affecting others, and things like that. Like I said, we have to be prepared. We have to know what that is, and like I said, one of the major things as well is the global warming issue. I think global warming is kind of a superficial designation to a bigger possible, be all end all, where global warming literally means boom, turn on these ionospheric heaters and annihilating, just having, almost a mass extinction. And I think that that's on the table, very, very realistically, because of this pandemic. And I think that's kind of why, that may be why, where this is going. They may say that, okay, well, this world is doomed without, if we don't step in and stop this. But that also speaks to the setup and foreknowledge that, that was set up, prior to, with that in mind. That speaks volumes as well. So, I'm hopeful that we can get this under wraps if we all are mindful, are very cautious. We help each other to understand, especially the medical community. Like I said, these people that are dying very rapidly, I think, the medical community, one of the things you can do to help these people is like I said, compression. They need to be in electromagnetic frequency or electromagnetic energy, free environments. If the hospitals can somehow set up, an environment of where these people don't have the access to the individuals, as far as pulsing them with electromagnetic frequencies and energies and things like that. I think EMF, either proof or limited, very monitored. We have to be very aware of this the electromagnetic spectrum, radio frequency. Like I said, wireless energy. All this has to be very, very limited. Especially to people that are sick, and especially the communities as a whole right now. We need to. People need to be aware of this energy very quickly. Because it's this energy is the catalyst to all of this. It's the very energy that's causing the electrochemical reactions, the restructuring. It is the devastating element in this whole process and system. It's basically the death dealer. It's a grim reaper, basically. This silent killer. It's around us, and it inundates us completely. Like I said, they'll cite infrastructure and everything else, and things like that. But because we have no recourse, right? There's no, can't pick up a landline. You can't send a fax. You can't. They'll say, we can't get the information out anymore. Without this, without our infrastructure. But we need to tone it. tone it back or limit it as much as possible. You know, like I said, we don't have to advance it to you know, it's been carried away. You know, you go to a sports bar, you got like, you know, all the TVs on the wall. You know what I mean? With like each TV has its own cable box, so it can switch to different channels. You know, those are the kind of excesses that I think are where it's all built in, and you know, we don't have to have, you know, stores, restaurants, you know, we don't have to have them wired in for a complete wireless infrastructure. You know, you don't have to go to McDonald's and say, I'm not saying McDonald's or say Burger King, talk about, you know, a local, you know, mom and pop restaurant, you know, say, you know, just things like that. We don't have to have that completely wired in, you know, to where they got kiosks and you know, free Wi-Fi, you know, free this, free that, you know, as an incentive. You know, it's just always everybody's adding to it, you know, and it's people don't realize, you know, this is not, you know, a fault of any of those places. I'm just saying, you know, people don't realize that we are the ones adding to it. And by demanding this, you know, or seeking this, you know, we're kind of calling it too, you know, amongst ourselves. We have to kind of limit that and get used to, you know, toning that down. If anything, you know, that would help beyond, you know, if we can come to that understanding, you know, can you imagine that would tone everything down to way lower, you know, I mean, just that's just a foot in the door, you know, like I said. So any little thing we can do to help to reduce, it kind of goes back to the old, you know, reduce, reuse, recycle. You know, that was the old kind of mantra of you know, cleaning the planet up, and you know, that never went anywhere. You know, it's still very effective today. Reduce, reuse, recycle. You know, especially the reduce. You know, we need to reduce this energy, like, because, you know, every time there's any sort of, you know, community growth or you know, community expands into a new area, what is one of the first thing that goes up? Boom, the tower's up. You know what I mean? And you see those towers everywhere. I mean, they're next to schools, they're next to hospitals, they're next to colleges, they're next to, you know, everything, and they're just right in the middle of our communities, in our literally in our populated areas. You can go to a literal just there's nothing there except a housing development, and you have one of these towers just right there, right in the center. You know what I mean? I've seen them literally right next to schools, and these things are just ominous, and they're just, you know what I mean? And like I said, you know, what else can we attribute to that? You know, what do? They hyperactivate. Look up the literal designations of them. They hyperactivate, you know, the ionosphere or the atmosphere. They hyperactivate something, and what happens when you have a hyperactive atmosphere? You know, you have hyperactivity, because we are symbiotic with the earth, so we need to reduce as much as possible this energy. As much of the wireless energy as we can reduce, that will, I mean, you will find, you know, everything starts to calm down a little bit. Ourselves especially, you know, we're not hyperactive, but you know, everything's amplified with hyperactivity, anxiety, response, you know, to everything, you know. So especially in this pandemic, if we can do everything we can to stay calm, like I said, to understand, to seek knowledge, to ask, you know, questions, and you know, like I said, pass on, you know, what it is we do become aware of, and that, you know, that may work. You know, like I said, compression as far as resonance, you know, because when things are when you're hit with that that energy, you know, you'll see your vision kind of starts bouncing, your eyes kind of bounce a little bit. You'll feel like your body will start spazzing. You'll start getting some muscle twitches and spasms and things like that. That's resonance. You know, compression helps, you know, keep you